Chairman of TRAI, Anil Kumar Lahoti Sahib, Member TRAI, Ritu Ranjan Mitterji, Dr. MP Tangiralala ji, Atul Kumar Chaudhary ji, Secretary TRAI, members of industry present here this afternoon, many colleagues, members of our vast and diverse telecom industry, all the members of TRAI, and of course, my close friends from across the media world, across all our channels in India. Let me say that it's a privilege and a pleasure to be back at TRAI, though at a much more modern and iconoclastic venue. My earlier deliberations with one of the most profound regulatory authorities in India were in the 2000 era as MOS of this department. And I have steadily followed the path that has been forged by this extremely important independent regulatory authority of our democracy. It has been a path which has really enabled and assisted our country, from industry to every single citizen across the length and breadth of our democracy, to forge ahead in the era of telecommunications. And not only to forge ahead, but if I may add, in many ways to be able to leapfrog the technology spectrum. I remember when I came back in the early 90s from university at Harvard as an investment banker, and that was the time when the mobile revolution was in its infancy. It was just being born. And those were the days when we were giving out those first 5 or 6 metro licenses. And even in that process, our regulatory institution, TRAI, played a very seminal role. The world of technology has now become multiplexed with the world of telecommunications. And the world of telecommunications has become the digital highway on which, I'm not getting the right word in English, but Hindi ka shabd kai baar असली अर्थ निकालता है, अतिशयोक्ति नहीं होगी अगर मैं कहूं. The lives of every single citizen across this world are being based. And many a time it is taken for granted. But just as we are building in this country today 6, 8 lane super physical highways, all our telcos, our ISPs are forging ahead to build that digital highway. And that digital highway is an unseen highway. But that is the highway on which the new revolution has already arrived in the world. You had the industrial revolution, you had the manufacturing revolution, and now it's the digital revolution. And the country that has the USP, the competitive and the comparative advantage, using Michael Porter's theory, to be able to deliver on that precept, is the country that will forge ahead economically. And suffice to say that our growth as an economy as well, from the 11th largest economy to today, no longer the 5th largest economy, because we've always used the statistic of the 5th largest economy, but I have been informed that about a week or 10 days ago, we even surpassed Japan. So we've now become the 4th largest economy in the world. Has been driven to a great extent by this unseen, invisible, amorphous digital highway. And therefore, like the captain of a ship, TRAI is the navigator that is helping us through these storms and charting the course and the way for India to lead the digital telecommunications revolution in the world. So you've done a yeoman's job, all of you gentlemen seated on the dais, and all the members and the staff of TRAI, many unseen faces here, but I commend all of you and thank all of you as a citizen of India for the job that you have been doing for many, many decades, but especially the last 2 decades, because I've experienced what you have done in the last 2 decades. Today's topic of universal and meaningful connectivity in India could not come at a more opportune time. It's a phrase that rolls off our tongue very easily. But every word in that phrase carries with it the ambitious goals, the ambitious promises, and the answer to many ambitious questions that every single citizen looks forward to. And therefore, for me, it's extremely important that when we talk about universal and meaningful connectivity, the key question that always must be asked is, how do we actually improve lives of our citizens? And therefore, when a weaver in Uttar Pradesh or Bihar or my Chanderi can connect onto an online trading platform and sell her or his wares directly into the international market, or when a young man or young woman in Leh can connect onto the platform, onto a live coding session, or for that matter, my fisherman in Kerala can access his GPS and get warnings of impending squalls or cyclones. That, ladies and gentlemen, is no longer connectivity. It is meaningful connectivity. And our goal, seated here in this room, because I see all the private sector generators here of this revolution, and our goal is to make that meaningful connectivity universal. And so, as we celebrate today the World Telecommunication and Information Society Day, on the 160th year of the founding of the ITU, and mind you, an organization that has changed fundamentally since its inception. Can you imagine, originally founded on the basis, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lahoti, on the basis of when a telegram crosses the borders to be able to rewrite it, which would completely dismantle diplomacy, which would completely dismantle trade. And how do we get over that hurdle? That was the sui generis or the raison d'etre for the foundation of this institution. Today has become an institution that talks about multilateral cooperation, global standards, and digital trust. And I'm very glad to report to you all today that for the first time in the history of telecommunications and in the 75-year-old history of our country, for the first time the ITU held an event in Asia, the WTSA event last year was held in nowhere else but India, where we had 3,000 delegates from across the world, ministers from 115 countries. And that really symbolized that India has today not come of age, but India today is leading the world in this digital economy, ladies and gentlemen. The seminal moment was when the ITU chairperson, Doreen Bogdan Martinji, visited Shivpuri and met with all my Lakpati Didis, all my Didis who are actually using this digital ecosystem, providing internet connections for the others, providing capability of loans for others, using the Mudra Yojana. And that in true essence is in many ways the leapfrogging that this technology provides. Why? Because when this technology empowers a single citizen, it allows that single citizen to be able to uplift the lives of multiple others. That is the beauty of our telecommunications technology. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about universal and meaningful connectivity, we are talking in many ways about the core of digital human connectivity, where we are not talking about generic infrastructure, but bespoke connectivity. Bespoke connectivity in every language, on every platform, on any device, and across any corner of the globe. That's the challenge ahead of us today. And the Prime Minister, in his transformative approach to technology, when he talks about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Prayas, Sabka Vikas, he has made that concept of digital transformation, brought it to the epicenter of transformation of human lives. And therefore, when we talk about how it affects the lives of each and every citizen, 10% growth in mobile connectivity leads to a delta of close to 0.8% in terms of growth of GDP. And therefore, we in this industry are a harbinger of economic growth, a harbinger of inclusivity, a harbinger of accessibility, a harbinger of quality of life. And therefore, our role is not limited to be only being an economic one. Our role is also a social upliftment role. And that's the role that all our players play today. There are 6 key fundamental pillars that would define universal and meaningful connectivity. The first, of course, is the whole concept of affordability. And we have seen that under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, where on the one hand you have huge breadth in terms of connectivity. Laoti ji talked about today 1.2 billion subscribers from 86,000 or something like that when we first started. At the same time, you've actually seen Moore's law come into effect, where costs have dropped from what used to be 287 rupees per GB to only 9 rupees per GB today, which is 11 cents. We are today the cheapest data market in the world. The average cost of data, 1 GB across the world, is $2.49. We are 5% of that. And that's been possible because of this public-private sector partnership that we have been able to scale up. And at the same time, our monthly data user capability has grown 349 times, from 61 MB to almost close to 21.5 GB. These are unheard of statistics in the world. The second pillar is one of availability. Anytime, anywhere. And which is why we've taken the 5G, 4G saturation route, where the remaining 27,000 villages, 26,316 crores have been devoted to putting up close to 9,300 towers that have been put up. We have another 11,000 towers to go. And along with that, I must commend our private sector that has seen 5G rollout being the fastest across the world. 22 months, 99% of our districts, 82% of our population. My hat's off to you, and as a citizen, I'd like to thank you for that capability of execution. On the third hand, we are now seeing the new technology of satellite telecom come into place. And satellite technology is complementary to our service bouquet. TRAI has come out with their regulations for administrative assignment. Multiple players have availed of a license. And I'm very confident that this rollout on the satellite network as well will probably be the fastest in the world in the years to come, growing from the current $2.3 billion market to almost a $20 billion market by 2028. So we are talking about a 10 multiple over the next 3 years. These are growth rates that you'll probably not see anywhere else in the world. The third parameter is accessibility. And as far as accessibility is concerned, the thrust is on domestic manufacturing. The thrust is on low-cost handsets. The thrust is on rural connectivity that will power India further. Today, India has become the capital of digital transactions across the world. Our UPI application has resulted in close to 46% of the world's digital transactions, close to about 1.72 billion transactions, leading to $2.85 trillion per annum. That has been the capability of our UPI network. The fourth pillar is the quality provision of our connectivity. And QoS is something that I have laid a lot of stress on in the last 11 months since taking over of this ministry. I'd like to commend TRAI also for coming out with their QoS standards. And we must stress on Six Sigma. It's important to make sure that we have the second largest market in the world, but must be also defined on the parameter of the highest quality of service in the world. And we have done a very detailed study. According to what TRAI has come out in terms of regulations, it is my sincere hope that all our telco providers will move up the value chain in terms of quality of service, not up till international benchmarks, but beyond international benchmarks. And along with that quality of service, I really believe that we need to prioritize performance, transparency, and accountability. Online safety and security is the fifth pillar. And our department, in the last 11 months, has put in place the Sanchar Sathi portal, the Sanchar Sathi mobile app, which has been adopted across the length and breadth of our country, resulting in disconnection of almost 3.4 crore fake mobile connections. Close to about 30 lakh mobile phones have been blocked, and close to about 17 lakh phones have been now recovered through the Sanchar Sathi portal. There's also been a 96% reduction in international spoofed calls, which has been a bane for every customer across India. And finally, our AI-enabled telecom monitoring has given confidence to every consumer that they are not just online, but they're safe online. The final pillar is one of technology. And I've said this many a time, and I say this again, that we followed the world on 4G, we marched with the world on 5G, we will lead the world in 6G. And I'm glad to report to you today that there are 111 research projects underway, and we are among the top 6 nations globally that are filing 6G patents. Innovation is extremely important, and that must be done in partnership and cooperation, and both at ITU and 3GPP. Our Bharat 6G mission is pioneering the way as far as setting technology standards are concerned. I do believe that our aspiration for being a technology leader must go beyond national achievement. It must be our gift to the world. And what better way to celebrate that than in Viksit Bharat 2047, be the leader of 6G technology across the length and breadth of the globe. Today, our India's digital economy, at close to 1.5 trillion, is already contributing 15% of our GDP. And I firmly believe that the global pulse of connectivity is beating strongest in India's evolving telecom ecosystem. And we shall continue to shape it meaningfully, universally, and equitably. On behalf of government, the Department of Telecom, and if I may, TRAI and the Government of India, let me reaffirm our resolve to ensuring universal and meaningful connectivity across the length and breadth of our country. Thank you very much for having me.